this video, I'm going to show another way of doing an animation. In a previous video, I showed how to do an animation with jQuery, where I made this box move from left to right. In this one, we're going to show doing the same thing, but doing it with the CSS3 animation using CSS3 transitions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to remove our jQuery. And we're going to have to write a little bit of jQuery, but it's not going to use much. So the first thing to do is to make another class on top of this, so then we can add something to it. And we're going to control the width, or the left. Now this will cause an issue. I'm doing this simply to show you exactly what issue it'll cause, and then we'll go and fix it, and we'll get to that later. Now, we can test our .move over here, and I'll just refresh the page by simply adding a class equals move. You can see that it moved. If I remove this, you can see that this right here actually creates the movement. Now what we want to do is we want to make it so that transition takes a bit of time. So what's a common mistake is to add the transition to the .move, but what that would do is it would make it so it only takes an effect when you add this class, not necessarily when you take it away. So it's better to put it in the overall function that doesn't ever change. So the ID works nicely. So we want to add a transition, and we're going to call this 500 milliseconds. You can also do seconds. We're also going to add a WebKit for transitions. And this is just for testing. We should actually add a few more prefixes. We'll come back to that at the end of the video. Now, one thing that this won't work, and I'll show you why it won't work, is now if we go over here and we add our class again. You can see that there wasn't any delay. Now the reason why is because CSS doesn't know what to start with. This is a little bit different than with jQuery. jQuery is going to start with like a 0 by default. CSS doesn't really know that. It's not as smart. So we have to add in the CSS in there. It's a little bit of a common mistake that I see. If we do that, you can see that now it actually moves. You can see if I remove this, you can see that now it actually does create an animation. Now our purpose, just like the last one, is so that when we click it, it'll actually work. You can see it doesn't work yet. This does involve a little bit of jQuery, so we're going to write this similar to how we wrote it in the previous video. Now, we simply call the selection again. I'm going to add a class, and we're going to call this move. You can see now it moves, but it doesn't move back. So we can just put a little bit of a time delay. And simply remove the class. And we're going to call this delay just 500 milliseconds. So that's the same exact time that the transition takes. So now I'm going to go over here, and you can see that it moves back just on click. And you can actually see right in here that all it's changing is the move. Now you can do this with many different things. You can actually do it at the same time with other animations. Maybe you want a diagonal. You can actually do a top and then do a top over here. And now all of a sudden this now moves diagonal. So you can really customize this however you want. CSS animations tend to be easier than jQuery animations to program, but you just don't have as much control as jQuery, so I tend to use them a little bit less. Sometimes they do run a little bit better on various browsers, so they are kind of useful. Now, as a final thing to do with this, we're going to have to add the different prefixes for the different browsers. And that should do the trick. And now it'll be browser compliant with everything else. Keep in mind that Internet Explorer 9 doesn't include this yet. Now, there's another thing called CSS animations, and I'll cover that in my next video. Talk to you guys soon. If you like it, please subscribe or like this video. Thank you.